is Rosie. Good morning. So, how are you, folks? Hope you are doing good. And I'm continuing with this book. So, in my last video, I forgot to mention about one of my hobbies. That's gardening. Flowers, not vegetables. Okay, so let's continue with this fascinating journey with Sir Roger Penrose, the Emperor's New Mind. Remember, in the last video, I showed you a paragraph with very tiny letters. And yes, I'm here back with a magnifying glass because it hurts my eyes. So let's see what's in here. So what does it say? Okay, that paragraph says there is an inevitable problem in writing a work such as this and deciding whether to use the pronoun he or she, where of course no implication with respect to gender is intended. Remember, I was saying, oh, the interrogator is a she and not he. Accordingly, when referring to some abstract person, I shall henceforth use he simply to mean the phrase she or he, which is what I take to be the normal practice. However, I hope that I may be forgiven one clear piece of sexism in experiencing a preference for a female interrogator here. My guess would be that she might be more sensitive than her male counterpart in recognizing true human quality. So that's what the writer says here. Sir Roger Penrose. Okay, so I don't need this magnifying glass anymore. Okay, so let's continue with this. So where did we end? So in my last video we read up to this line. Okay, now let's continue. She might also choose to throw in an occasional complete nonsense question to see if the computer could detect the difference, or she might add one or two which sounded superficially like nonsense but really did make some kind of sense. For example, she might say, I hear that a rhinoceros flew along the Mississippi in a pink balloon this morning. What do you make of that? Can you guys imagine a huge, rhinoceros are huge. So in my state, Assam, which is in northeast India, it's famous for its one-horned rhinoceros. So they are actually huge animals. You can imagine a rhinoceros flew along the Mississippi in a pink balloon. Oh my. What do you make of that? One can almost imagine the beads of cold sweat forming on the computer's brow, to use a most inappropriate metaphor. It might guardedly reply, that sounds rather ridiculous to me. So far, so good. Okay. Interrogator. Really? My uncle did it once. Both ways. Only it was off white with stripes. What's so ridiculous about that? It is easy to imagine that if it had no proper understanding, a computer could soon be trapped into revealing itself. It might even blunder into rhinoceroses can't fly. Its memory banks having hopefully come up with the fact that they have no wings. In answer to the first question, rhinoceroses don't have stripes. In answer to the second, next time she might try a real nonsense question, such as changing it to the under the Mississippi or inside a pink balloon or in a pink nightdress, to see if the computer would have the sense to realize the essential difference. Let us set aside for the moment the issue of whether or when some computer might be made which actually passes the Turing test. Let us suppose instead, just for the purpose of argument, that such machines have already been constructed. We may well ask whether a computer which does pass the test should necessarily be said to think, feel, understand, etc. I shall come back to this matter very shortly. For the moment, let us consider some of the implications. For example, if the manufacturers are correct in their strongest claims, namely their device is a thinking, feeling, sensitive, understanding, conscious being, then our purchasing of the device will involve us in moral responsibilities. It certainly should do so if the manufacturers are to be believed. Simply to operate the computer to satisfy our needs without regard to its own sensibilities would be reprehensible. Yes, so true. That would be morally no different from maltreating a slave. Causing the computer to experience the pain that the manufacturers claim it is capable of feeling would be something that, in a general way, we should have to avoid. Turning off the computer, or even perhaps selling it, when it might have become attached to us, would present us with moral difficulties. And there would be countless other problems of the kind that relationships with other human beings or other animals tend to involve us in. Imagine when we lose a pet, what happens to us? We cry for days. We never forget them even though they are gone. All this would now become highly relevant issues. Thus, it would be of great importance for us to know, and also for the authorities to know, whether the manufacturer's claims, which let us suppose are based on their assertion that each thinking device has been thoroughly Turing tested by our team of experts, are actually true. It seems to me that despite the apparent absurdity of some of the implications of these claims, particularly the moral ones, the case for regarding the successful passing of a Turing test as a valid indication of the presence of thought, intelligence, understanding, or consciousness is actually quite a strong one. For how else do we normally form our judgments that people other than ourselves possess just such qualities except by conservation? Oh, sorry. Except by conversation. Actually, there are other criteria such as facial expressions, movements of the body, and actions generally, which can influence us very significantly when we are making such judgments. But I could imagine that perhaps somewhat more distantly in the future, a robot could be constructed which could successfully imitate all these expressions and movements. It would now not be necessary to hide the robot and the human subject from the view of the interrogator, but the criteria that the interrogator has at her disposal are, in principle, the same as before. Are you guys? From my own point of view, I should be prepared to weaken the requirements of the Turing test very considerably. It seems to me that asking the computer to imitate a human being so closely so as to be indistinguishable from one in the relevant ways is really asking more of the computer than necessary. All I would myself ask for would be that our perceptive interrogator should really feel convinced from the nature of the computer's replies that there is a conscious presence underlying these replies, albeit a possibly alien one. This is something manifestly absent from all computer systems that have been constructed to date. However, I can appreciate that there would be a danger that if the interrogator were able to decide which subject was in fact the computer, then perhaps unconsciously she might be reluctant to attribute a consciousness to the computer even when she could perceive it. Or, on the other hand, she might have the impression that she senses such an alien presence and be prepared to give the computer the benefit of the doubt even when there is none. For such reasons, the original Turing version of the test has a considerable advantage in its greater objectivity, and I shall generally stick to it in what follows. So, the interrogator may be somewhat biased, right? Suppose if she perceives that, oh, okay, this one is the computer and the other one is the actual human. Okay, the consequent unfairness towards the computer to which I have referred earlier, that is, that it must be able to do all that a human can do in order to pass, whereas the human need not be able to do all that a computer can do, is not something that seems to worry supporters of the Turing test as a true test of thinking, etc. In any case, their point of view often tends to be that it will not be too long before a computer will be able actually to pass the test, say by the year 2010. It's 2023. I'm reading this like this was published in 1989, and Sir Roger Penrose mentions it, saying that passed the test, say by the year 2010, and it is 2023. I do not think it has happened. Turing originally suggested a 30% success rate for the computer with an average interrogator and just 5 minutes. Questioning might be achieved by the year 2000. By implication, they are rather confident that this bias is not significantly delaying the day. Okay, so in this is 2023. Do you think computers can think, feel all the emotions that we humans go through? I don't think so. Let me know in the comments below. See you in my next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.